Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Confronting Evil. Tonight, Seth and Mackenzie learn a new rule of the universe, one that seems to be dead set against them. So, settle back, relax, and get ready for one bumpy ride. It's time for another episode of Confronting Evil.
So you're telling me they actually made good superhero movies, and now you can watch them on a computer that you keep in your pocket? Wallace questioned what Seth and Mackenzie were telling him.
Yeah, we call them cell phones.
Mackenzie laughed. No, this is a cell phone, Wallace said, pulling out an old Nokia 3210 phone with a tiny screen. That's a tiny computer, Wallace said, pointing to Seth's cell phone in amazement.
Easy, man. There's a lot to learn. Let's relax a little and take it slow so you don't get overloaded. A lot of crazy things have happened since you've been in there.
Seth suggested to him. You're right. This is all quite a bit to take in, but I love it. I just keep imagining all of the good this must have done for society. Wallace smiled with glee.
Yeah. There was plenty good.
Seth said reluctantly, not wanting to inform him of the troll-filled world of social media.
Relaxing sounds like a good idea. I think I'm gonna go back to my room and take a nice hot shower.
Mackenzie said with a smile. Shower? Wallace said, his interest piqued. He hadn't had a warm shower in decades.
Here, follow me,
Seth said, guiding Wallace to one of the empty officers' quarters and showing him where the shower was. Seth then returned to his own room and sat down on his bed to relax.
Not just for you, Wallace. So much has happened for all of us.
Seth said to himself with a sigh, thinking about all that had taken place over the last few years.
I wish I knew where Mom was. And Cash.
Seth continued speaking to himself.
God, I wish I knew more,
he said, before he was suddenly startled by a familiar female voice.
Perhaps I can help.
The voice spoke to him, causing him to jump up, ready to attack the intruder, but when he saw where the voice had come from, he relaxed once again.
Jothiel, what are you doing back here?
Seth asked the beautiful angel.
You prayed, I answered.
Jophiel explained calmly.
What? No, Never mind. I have a few questions, if that's alright.
Seth requested, getting a nod of agreement from the angelic woman.
Do you know where our mom is?
Seth asked.
No, I do not.
Jophiel answered bluntly.
You're an angel. You guys can, see everything, can't you?
Seth pushed further.
There are some things that are even beyond our scope.
Jophiel answered honestly.
If we stop Iridus, can we get Cash back?
He asked the angel.
You must stop Iridus.
Jophiel answered with emphasis.
Iridus seeks to open the pit of despair. He can't be allowed to do so.
Jophiel explained.
Wait, the pit of despair? What's that?
Seth asked with concern of the ominous name.
The pit of despair is like a Pandora's box of the worst of the worst. Everything that died will live once again. Every abomination eliminated and sealed away throughout your entire bloodline will return in force.
Jophiel answered with a dire revelation. Seth gulped with fear and anxiety and said that didn't sound good at all.
That isn't the worst of it, Seth. When monsters die, they don't go to hell, and they can't go to heaven. They go to the pit, Seth. Their own endless purgatory, and Iridus seeks to open the gate permanently.
Jophiel revealed further.
Alright, point taken. Stop Iridus.
Seth relented, realizing the enormity of the situation. Then, Seth thought of another question to ask. After pausing for a moment to think on if he wanted to know the answer, he sighed and finally asked.
You said there was a darkness in me. What did you mean?
He quietly requested, but before he could get an answer, his sister came out of her room, dressed in a new outfit, still drying her hair from her shower.
That was a great shower.
Mackenzie sighed with joy.
Holy shit! What the hell are you doing here?
She exclaimed upon seeing that Jophiel was back.
I am God's beauty. I can assure you I am not holy feces.
Jophiel said, a bit confused and offended by Mackenzie's language.
What?
Mackenzie asked, equally perplexed by what was said.
No, she was just surprised that you were here. She wasn't insulting you.
Seth explained, getting a nod of understanding from the angelic woman.
So, what's going on?
Mackenzie asked.
Well,
Seth began with a deep breath.
Raphael was just telling me how Iridus plans on opening the Pit of Despair, which is like a kind of afterlife for all the horrible things our entire family has killed. And he wants to open it. Forever. So everything we kill will just keep coming back. Is that about to sum it up, Raphael?
Seth explained the situation.
Yes, I would say you have sufficiently explained the gravity of the situation.
Jophiel agreed.
Jesus Christ.
Mackenzie said as the shock settled in.
Are you unwell? The Lord is clearly not in our presence. If he were, you would know it.
Jophiel said, confused once again by Mackenzie's choice of words.
So, how do we stop him? It's not like we can just kill him, right?
Seth questioned.
No, you can't.
Jophiel agreed with Seth.
But you can, that is, with some special preparation.
She then revealed, looking over to Mackenzie.
Me? What? Why me?
Mackenzie asked, not wanting that responsibility all on herself.
Only one of your bloodline can seal the pit and stop him.
Jophiel explained.
Why can't Seth do it?
Mackenzie pressed further.
He is tainted. If he were to seal the pit, it could have dire consequences that are beyond even heavenly foresight.
Jophiel answered, showing Mackenzie that she really was the only one that could stop it. Mackenzie sat down beside Seth on the bed and sighed at the enormity of the responsibility placed upon her.
Worst day ever.
Ugh, I forgot how nice it was to take a hot shower, Wallace said, as he stepped into the open doorway, still in nothing but a towel. So, what'd I miss? Mackenzie looked up at the very good-looking and very muscular, nerdy guy in a towel, his long, light brown hair flowing wet over his shoulder, noticing that he cleaned up very nicely.
I guess it's not all bad.
She then said with a bit of a smile, biting her lip, causing a sigh and an eye roll to escape her brother.
So how do we stop Iridus?
Seth asked, quickly shifting the subject back to what was more important.
He has everything he requires. A new body, your blood, your suffering.
Jophiel told them.
So what's stopping him?
Seth asked her.
The process takes an overwhelming amount of energy. I suspect his choice in host does not have the capacity for the energy required.
Jophiel told them her doubts.
That's one way of putting it.
Mackenzie joked at her friend's expense.
So what do we do?
Seth questioned further.
Mackenzie must become like God.
Jophiel answered. Seth could barely contain his laughter as he said,
Good luck with that.
If you need me to be like God, then why doesn't God stop him? Or one of you? Why does it have to be me?
Mackenzie questioned further.
I believe you humans have a saying, the Lord works in mysterious ways. We also have a saying in heaven, God does what God wants.
Jophiel explained.
God has been known to go on century-long vacations, which is currently why they cannot be located. And even so, humans have free will, while angels do not. We must follow God's law.
She revealed, letting them know that God was nowhere to be found.
And God says you can't do it. Yeah, got it.
Mackenzie finally relented.
So, what do we have to do?
She then asked.
You must seek out another human that ascended to be with God.
Jophiel spoke.
Well, if they ascended, wouldn't that mean they're in heaven?
Mackenzie said with an attitude.
Elijah chose to return to Earth and has been living amongst the humans.
Jophiel explained, expecting Mackenzie to know what she was talking about, but instead, just got a perplexed look. Seth, seeing his sister's confusion, answered the question on her mind.
The son of Enoch, who also ascended. So where do we find him?
I believe he is living in a place called Cleveland?
Jophiel answered, hoping that they had heard of the place and possibly knew where it was.
Ohio. Elijah, son of Enoch, is living in Ohio.
Seth asked.
There's a reason why so many astronauts are from Ohio. They want to get away from there, so they blast off into the heavens. And we are looking for the one guy that wanted to come back down to Earth. Mackenzie
joked, pointing out the irony of the situation. They weren't too keen on the locale, but they prepared to leave for a 3 or 4 hour drive and left as soon as possible, heading west through Erie, Pennsylvania and into Ohio before eventually finding themselves in the city of Cleveland. It was smart to leave when they did because it was already nearly dusk when they arrived. After spending quite some time looking for a good, cheap motel that didn't have up a no vacancy sign, they finally found one in a slightly shady neighborhood. They settled into room 3, and it wasn't the worst place they'd ever stayed, but it definitely wasn't the presidential suite, and they began to question if it was wise to stay there.
Contrary to popular belief, Cleveland does not rock,
Seth said before sitting on a lightly stained bed. He then looked around and noticed that there was only one bed in the room.
God damn it.
He sighed quietly at the poor shape of the living quarters. Luckily, they probably wouldn't be spending much time there.
So, where did Jophiel say Elijah was?
Mackenzie asked Seth.
He is down the road right now, approximately 3 blocks away.
Jophiel answered her, appearing in the room next to her.
Jesus Christ, Joe!
Mackenzie exclaimed with surprise. Jophiel told her that she's not the Lord and that they've been over this.
No, don't do that!
Mackenzie yelled.
I apologize. You should go get him before he leaves.
Jophiel apologized.
Fine.
Mackenzie grumbled before leaving the motel room in a rush to find Elijah, but what she found instead was a problem that verified her suspicion of her unwise choice in places to stay. 3 guys in black clothes stood over a young Middle Eastern man who was cowering from them, pleading for them to leave him alone.
Hey!
Mackenzie yelled.
Why don't you pick on someone your own size?
She added before hauling off and wailing one of the guys full force, knocking him to the ground before she tackled the next guy, punching him a few times in the stomach before tossing him to the ground as well. The third guy, some young punk, took a swing at her, but she blocked it with her forearm and popped the kid right on the nose, and with the sound of a crunch, it instantly began gushing blood. "Come on, let's get out of here!" The boy she threw yelled after climbing to his feet, and then the kid with the broken nose took off running, leaving the first guy that Mackenzie had attacked unconscious on the ground.
Hey, you alright?
Mackenzie asked the young man. He looked up at her as she offered him a hand, his eyes a pale brown, almost matching the tan hue of his skin. Yeah, thank you," the man said as he grabbed her hand and climbed to his feet with her help.
So, what was that?
Mackenzie asked him. I owed them money, $3,000, and people can be cruel, the young man said.
Well, I don't think they'll be bothering you for a little while. If you want, I could show you a few pointers to help defend yourself.
Mackenzie offered. Oh, no thanks. I'm a pacifist. I don't believe in violence. The man declined.
Pacifist? Well, sometimes you don't have a choice but to pass a fist to defend yourself.
Mackenzie insisted.
Hey, Mackenzie. Did you find Elijah?
Seth asked as he finally showed up. Upon hearing the name, the young man's eyes grew wide with fear. No, why did you say it? Why did you say my name? The Middle Eastern man shouted in fear of what the knowledge of his name would attract. It was then that the unconscious man levitated to his feet, as if he were a puppet on strings. His eyes opened and rolled back into his head to reveal the bright red arteries in the whites of his eyes. Whites that then clouded over to an oily black, still contrasting the red blood vessels. In a deep, inhuman-sounding voice that escaped the man's bloody, chapped lips. Heaven cannot protect you now. The man then lunged toward young Elijah, but was quickly met by the blade of Seth's dagger, a dagger made of blessed silver. The beast screeched in pain and fell to the ground, writhing around before he rolled onto his side and vomited what looked like the ink of a squid. Black liquid escaped his body by the gallon before he gasped a final breath and fell over dead. The oil-like vomit then soaked into the earth, leaving nothing but a stain upon the dirt where it was expelled. Why did you say my name? Now I'll have to jump 3 states and change my whole life again, Elijah said with a grumble.
So, you're Elijah?
Mackenzie asked. Move 3,000 miles away, and someone still recognizes me, Elijah ranted.
We were sent here by Jophiel, too.
Seth began to explain, but was cut off. Jophiel? Why would God's beauty be requesting me? Has the rapture begun? Elijah ranted further, interrupting Seth.
No, not exactly.
Seth began, not knowing what to say.
Long story short, there's this demon guy that wants to open up a pit of monsters, and the only way to stop him is to become like God, whatever that means. So we needed to find someone that ascended to heaven to figure that out. So, here we are.
Mackenzie explained the situation to the best of her knowledge. Oh, the pit of despair. That means we still have some time left. It's not the rapture yet. Thank God. Elijah said with relief.
Oh, just a pit of monsters, hell-bent on killing us, and everyone else that exists. No biggie.
Mackenzie said with sarcasm. A couple of wise guys with Jophiel, that makes 3. Okay, fine, I'll help you. But first, you have to help me. Get me home and help me out of here. You started all this, it's only fair that you get me out of it. Elijah offered a deal.
Deal.
Seth agreed. Together, the trio made their way down the street as the sun was setting. On the way, the twins explained their situation a bit more. Oh, you're the Beretta twins, Elijah said, looking the two up and down as they made their way closer to his home.
Wait, you've heard of us?
Seth asked, a bit confused. Yeah, Heaven keeps track of all of their warriors. I thought you'd be a bit bigger, though, Elijah answered.
Warriors?
Seth asked, unsure of what he was being told. Hunters. Everyone that protects the people from the unknown, Elijah explained. All monster hunters were warriors against the darkness, and some of them even had a fan following in heaven.
So we have, what? A fan club?
Mackenzie asked, kind of happy with the thought of being adored by angels. You? No. Eugene Huckleberry Bruce is pretty popular, though, Elijah answered truthfully.
Huck. Huck is more popular than us?
Mackenzie balked at the thought.
I mean, Seth, yeah. I could understand.
She continued.
Hey!
Seth growled.
But me? No way. I'm way too badass. They gotta be grading me on a curb. Seth is dragging my ratings down.
She tried to reason out why Huck was more popular in heaven. He does have the advantage of being a Bruce. After Raybob, the entire Bruce family kind of got a big boost, and it just never went down. Elijah answered her question.
Even Cash?
Mackenzie said sadly. The boy named Sue? Yup, him too, Elijah answered.
No.
Mackenzie sighed in defeat. We're here, Elijah said as they made their way up to a small apartment duplex on the edge of the city. And so are we. A deep man's voice spoke from the shadows. Hello, son of Enoch, A second, younger man's voice called out as the blonde guy with short hair stepped out from around the corner of the duplex, followed by a bigger guy stepping out from the bushes behind the group. Mackenzie recognized them as the two members of the group of 3 that had attacked Elijah previously, but now something was different with them, as if the presence of Elijah worked some kind of demonic plague that infects people to try and kill them and bring a tool of heaven down to hell with them. Their eyes were the same black hue with red webbing arteries. They were no longer the same people that Mackenzie and Seth had stopped in the alley. They were now possessed by a darkness that sought to end Elijah. "Our boss wants a word with you," the smaller guy spoke. "We can do this the easy way," the larger man said, cracking his knuckles. "Or the hard way. Your choice."
I vote the hard way.
Mackenzie said, pulling out her Beretta and blowing a hole through the larger man that approached them. The bullet had almost no effect, knocking the man back a bit. He smiled and just kept coming. Seth, on the other hand, did what he knew worked, and once again pulled out his ritual dagger, blessed and made of silver. It was created for just such a purpose. He quickly slashed at the smaller demon, slicing his arm open with a sizzling sting and causing the small demon to realize that the knife could cause him pain. But that realization would do him no good, as in the next moment, the knife was directly driven into his temple, where the demon inside the man let out a screech before a black smoke escaped from his open mouth and nasal passages that then evaporated into the darkened sky. The knife was then removed from the corpse, where the body dropped to the ground with a thud. The larger man then attacked Mackenzie, charging at her and tackling her hard to the ground. He roared at her, saliva dripping from his open lips onto her screaming face. She fired several more bullets into the demon on top of her, but it did nothing to stop him from pummeling her with his fists, bloodying her brow. Mackenzie didn't know what else to do at the time. Her own blood filled her eyes, stinging and blurring her vision, but she could see just enough to watch the silver blade rip through the back of the demon's skull and push out from between his lips, mixing his disgusting saliva with blood that dropped down onto Mackenzie, when the blade was quickly withdrawn and the dead body of the third demon tonight was kicked to the ground beside her.
You alright, Kens?
Seth asked her, helping her to her feet.
Yeah,
Mackenzie answered, spitting some blood off to the side.
but next time, Dweeb, could you not let me get covered in blood and demon slobber?
She added, wiping the disgusting mess off of her sore face.
Sure thing. Yes.
Seth chuckled a bit, glad his sister was okay.
So Elijah, you gonna invite a girl inside so I can freshen up? Or are you just gonna let me bleed all over your walkway?
Mackenzie said, through a slightly swollen face. "Oh, I'm sorry. Please come in. The bathroom's down the hall on the right," Elijah said, letting them inside while Mackenzie went to the bathroom to clean up. Elijah would begin packing his things with Seth's help and company. "So, a witch helped Iridis, huh?" Elijah asked as he packed up his clothes.
Yep. Ariadne.
Seth answered. "Don't worry, Seth. For my dealings with dark witches, the rule of 3 always applies. Sometimes it can take a long time, but they always get theirs in the end." Elijah attempted to comfort him.
The rule of 3.
Seth asked. "Yeah, you might know it as the threefold law. Anything you do can most likely come back to you threefold?" Elijah answered.
Well, that's good to know.
Seth said, pondering the repercussions of Ariadne's magic, as well as his own.
That's a bit better. Still hurts like hell, though.
Mackenzie said as she came back into the room, her face cleaned up with some bandages she found, now covering some of her wounds.
So, what do I need to do to be more like God? Whatever that means.
She then asked. "I'm sorry, but, I can't tell you exactly what you need to do." Elijah relented, looking down.
What? I got my ass kicked and nearly died, and now you're saying you can't help?
Mackenzie growled in extreme and rightful anger. No, I can help. What I mean is, I can't tell you exactly what you need to do, because it's different for everyone," Elijah explained, to a still very angry Mackenzie who was growing even closer to sending him back to heaven herself.
You should probably explain yourself before my sister goes nuclear,
Seth said, fearing for the safety of everyone in the house. I ascended to heaven because I was changed by God. It was as if God translated the language of my existence into an entirely new one, or old one, the oldest one to exist. The language that birthed existence, God's words. I knew it was coming, though. I felt it and saw the signs like my father before me, Elijah continued, doing his best to explain a complex thought. You see, God created the universe. Everything that exists in this universe was a thought that God's word spoke into existence. So it was as if the universe itself was telling me where to go. Elijah told them his story.
So it isn't what we have to do, but where we have to go,
Seth asked. Or who you have to speak to. The Bible is a good place to start, if you need to look for further answers, Elijah suggested.
I came here asking for help to stop a demon from ending all life on Earth, and you give a Bible sermon? Thanks for the help.
Mackenzie growled with a depressed anger as she stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her, causing the neighbor's dog to start barking. I'm sorry. Elijah empathized with Seth, looking over at him.
It is what it is. Thanks anyways,
Seth said with a sigh.
So where are you going from here?
He then asked. I'm gonna catch a bus to somewhere out west and just go until I find someplace that looks nice, Elijah said, lifting a large duffel bag over his shoulder. And remember, Seth, the universe has a way of showing you what you need. Look for the clues. He then added, before exiting the house, to go catch a bus to greener pastures.
Well, it seems that when the world gives you lemons, give it back threefold. And I hope you come back threefold next weekend for more of the gore galore that you love. But don't worry, Seth and Mackenzie will return with a new Confronting Evil next month.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.